Hey guys, this looks like a fun one. We're given an isosceles trapezoid where these three sides are equal to 5 and the base is equal to 10. And it wants to know what is the length of the diagonal. I got this puzzle from Brilliant. It's part of the 100 Days of Puzzles. Here it is right here, diagonal thinking. We're given the problem here and we have 4 choices. If you want to try it on your own, pause it right now because I'm going to solve it in 3, 2, 1. First, let's move the 10 down here because I want to break up the base into multiple parts. Let's draw a segment from here down to here perpendicular to the base. And let's label the length of this as h for height of the trapezoid. And then let's do the same thing from here. Let's draw this segment also perpendicular to the base. So now we have just created a rectangle. The top of the rectangle is equal to 5. This base will also equal 5. And then due to the symmetry of an isosceles trapezoid, the base of this triangle will be congruent to the base of this triangle. Since the whole base is 10 and this took up 5, that leaves 2.5 for each of these. And now that we have the 2.5, the 5, and the 2.5, we no longer need the 10 label. So now we have everything we need to solve for h. We can focus on this right triangle. This is a special right triangle. Since the shortest side is half of the hypotenuse, this is a 30, 60, 90 triangle. And using these notes for 30, 60, 90 triangles, right away we can see that this h is equal to 2.5 times square root of 3. Or in other words, 5 root 3 over 2. In case you didn't recognize the 30, 60, 90 triangle, we can also use Pythagorean theorem. It would be 2.5 squared plus h squared equals 5 squared. 2.5 squared is equal to 6.25. And then we're going to add to that h squared, and that's going to be equal to 5 squared, which is 25. Next, we can subtract 6.25 from both sides, and we end up with h squared is equal to 18.75. And then to get the h all by itself, we can square root both sides. On the left-hand side, the square root and the square will cancel each other out. And we end up with h is equal to the square root of 18.75. And that is the same thing as 5 root 3 over 2. If this were our final answer, I would say 5 root 3 over 2 as our answer. I think that's the most simplified version. But since we're still in the middle of our work, I think it's going to be easier to work with the square root of 18.75. So in the place of this h, let's plug in square root of 18.75. And now I think we have everything we need to find this question mark. Let's focus on this triangle now. This time, I don't know if there's any shortcuts. I'm just going to use Pythagorean theorem. So it'll be square root of 18.75 squared plus the base, which is 7.5 squared, equals question mark squared. So for the first term, the square root and the square are going to cancel each other out. So we have 18.75. And then 7.5 squared is equal to 56.25. And that'll still be equal to question mark squared. And then 18.75 plus 56.25 gives us exactly 75. And then to get the question mark by itself, let's square root both sides of the equation. On the right-hand side, the square root and the square will cancel each other out. And on the left-hand side, for the square root of 75, we can clean this up a little bit. Let's give ourselves some more room, and we can rewrite the 75 as 3 times 25. And then we can give each of these, the 3 and the 25, their own square root. And the square root of 25 is equal to 5. So we end up with 5 square root of 3. And that should be the answer to our question. The length of the diagonal is 5 root 3. Let's check our answer. Here it is, 5 root 3. Is it right? Yes, it was right. I guess we can see why. They did the same thing we did. Drop down the 2 heights. So they didn't even do the 30, 60, 90 triangle. They just did the Pythagorean theorem. It's cool how there's so many different ways you can solve things. So once again, this is part of Brilliant's 100 Days of Puzzles. I can show you some other ones I've done. This one, taking their time. Okay, this was a cool one. You've seen the problems where someone says, I can wash a car in 1 hour, and then his brother can wash the car in 2 hours. How long does it take him to wash the car if they work together? This one's very similar to that type of problem, but I remember there was a twist with this. It starts with Paul making half of the gift, and then they finish the other half together. I remember this being a fun one. It's a twist I've never seen before. And then there's this one, overlapping areas. It's about the ratio of the red area to the white area inside of this square. I was initially kind of confused about the arbitrary sizes of these squares until I realized the square sizes don't matter. If you imagine this square getting smaller to this point, it does not change the white area at all. Same thing for this square and this square. And I do remember doing this one. It was fun. And then there's this, how much will you win? This one was an expected value one. So you end up rolling a 6-sided die, and then you end up getting a certain amount of dollars based on different outcomes. And you're supposed to find how much much you expect it to win. So the first rule is whatever you roll, you get that many dollars. And then it says if you roll a 6, then you get $6 and you get to roll again. If you keep rolling 6s, this could go on for a really long time. The potential element that you could keep rolling 6s forever made this one kind of fun to do. And I just did this one today, and this is the next one I'm going to be doing. We need both rows to add up to 6 and each column to add up to these numbers. And it looks like you can use 1 more than once and 2 more than once. I haven't done this one yet. It should be a fun one. And if you want to try out these 100 days of puzzles, visit brilliant.org/andymath or scan the QR code on the screen. Brilliant has thousands of lessons in all the coolest topics: math, science, data analysis, programming, AI. And all of them are interactive, which is the most effective way to learn. There's so much new stuff you can learn, and even if you already know a topic, it's still fun to go through them because I definitely put a lot of effort in how they construct the lessons. To try Brilliant for free, click on the link in the description. You can also get 20% off an annual premium subscription. How exciting.